Would you watch a show where a billionaire CEO has to go an entire month on their lowest paid employee's salary without access to any other resources than that of the employee? What do you think would happen? They'd be fine. The problem with poverty is not usually day-to-day costs. People can adjust to that. It's unexpected expenses that are crippling. Edit. Rant was too whiny. If you have something to say, whom am I to say otherwise? It is a mix. Day to day, you can realistically only spend 5 to 10 out of pocket that even a minimum wage worker can deal with. But prorate in the monthly costs, and it gets crazy. In my area, a one-bedroom in a bad area is still $1,200 per month, or about $40 a day. Transit for most people will be at least $5, and that is cost of mass transit to and from work. More if you drive, car, insurance, upkeep, gas. Not having a car is not always an option. On 40 hours at $10 an hour, you are bringing in about $1,200 a month. You lose some of that to taxes, but let's be nice and say you get it all. You already cannot afford a studio apartment, so you need a roommate. So you have to hopefully find someone sane, but that is not a given. So basically, on your own, on a full-time minimum wage job, you basically are eating garbage to just not be hungry. Living with 2 to 3 roommates with the same problems you have, and will have no ability to save enough to ever make a difference. $500 is huge savings over a whole year for you, and that is not life-changing at all. They wouldn't have any trouble. Most of them are self-made, and most have a large number of financial skills that 99% of people don't. They'd micro their finances and come out better off than most people. You think someone like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Elon Musk couldn't handle it? Or what about Warren Buffett? The dude is already living a modest life. A lot of dumbasses in the comments seem to fail to realize that a lot of these billionaires were already in a super shitty position before and pull themselves out of it. These people run massive corporations and charities, and you dumbasses seriously think that living your life for a few months would be a challenge. That's some cringe. You should watch Undercover Billionaire on Discovery, not to be confused with Undercover Boss. Billionaire Glenn Stearns moves to Erie, PA with just $100, a truck, and no contacts, and has to make a company valued at $1 million in 90 days. He also can't mention who he is to anyone. It's pretty much exactly like you are describing, and insanely entertaining. Yup, this is it. Googling is Undercover Billionaire Legend. Brings up old Reddit threads about it where people said Twitter exposed them, sorta, because everyone in the city knew something was going on. So every time Glenn went to get a loan, a job, or even people who literally worked for free and donated time to help for free, only, supposedly, did it because they had seen cameras or knew it had to be connected to the stir in town. I enjoyed the show regardless, and what was leaked about it didn't really discredit it entirely. Oh yeah, and the tires he picked up and sold at the beginning of the show were supposedly planted there, and several other things. But not everything was debunked or discredited, so it still had some good lessons. I support raising the minimum wage, and the concept definitely resonates, but the show concept is not going to be life-changing for anyone involved. I will brace for the down votes, but I don't understand why we fault people for making a lot of money, as long as they do it honestly. The dark secret of any executive, athlete, artist, actor, etc. who makes an exceptional amount of money is that this is what the market will pay them. The CEO of Company X likely has a skill set that is very useful for planning corporate strategy that few people have, and that takes decades to develop, understanding of finance, ability to read market trends, skill negotiating partnerships, and labor agreements. If they are good at this, the company and its shareholders, if they're publicly traded, will also benefit. So, this is in many ways an investment. As for the workers who earn less, we should raise the minimum wage. But they too are free to seek employment elsewhere if someone will pay them more money. It doesn't make sense getting angry at market dynamics. If any company were to apply a policy overnight that we are going to pay our CEO the same as our assembly line workers, you would likely see that company go bankrupt soon, as because the only people willing to do that job at that price probably don't have the experience to do it wisely. All the qualified candidates took jobs at your competitors' factories where they were offered more. Same is true for basketball or any other sport. People pay you money because they believe you'll make them money. Edit. Clarified thought on workers' wages. The other interesting dynamic is that no CEO is going to stay in a minimum wage job. The instant they're put in a job, they'll immediately start looking for a better paying job because they know they're worth more. You can take everything away from a driven, successful person and they'll be successful again. You can give everything to a non-successful person and they'll revert back to the mean. It's not about forcing somebody to pay you more. It's about self-worth drive and getting it yourself. Right? People are expecting these very smart people to suffer and do poorly. When really, this would be a show about which person can climb the ladder the fastest. I doubt these people will struggle that badly. It's like everyone assumes a CEO is a person born into wealth that lounges around all day doing nothing. I bet most people would be crushed under their workload. It would be better if they had to live with their lowest salaried employee for a month or two, IMO. In their house, dinner with the family, travel to and from work together, same lunch, kids with homework, the works. Building that relation would IMO do much more for this problem than just experiencing below your normal standard of living before returning to it. You're more likely to feel empathy for a family you know, and much less likely to forget them. Anything else would just be another show about wealthy people having a fun adventure to talk about at cocktail parties. This would be a good show. I'd watch this. There was this similar themed show in Hong Kong and mainland China years ago. They swapped billionaire with bottom feeders, let the rich do the basic job on the lowest salary, to see how far the rich could go by purely their own effort. Nearly all of the billionaire admitted that they could not make anywhere regardless of how hard they worked. Even working without sleeping and resting could not give you any accumulation to help climb up to the higher level of the society. There was only despair and admission that the divide between the poor and the rich is already a deep valley, and mere personal effort makes little sense. It stirred big debate among the society back then, and I think that was part of the reasons the show got canceled. There was also another show in China, swapping senior political figures with community-level council workers to see how good they could do in each other's posts. The mayors were flooded by the angry mobs who kept asking for more and more benefits that were impossible to fulfill. By the end, had to admit the amount of work at basic community level was too much to achieve anywhere. The show also got canceled quite soon after a few episodes. It's more than just the money. It's the lack of security these people endure. Not knowing if you'll lose your job tomorrow and having no savings, being kicked out of your home, an unexpected bill you can't afford, which may lead to increasing debt. Putting these rich people in a poor lifestyle for a month isn't enough. Even if they lost their money and homes, they'll have such a huge network that they'll be back on their feet in the time it takes for us peons to earn enough to eat for a week. They can never truly understand what it's like to be poor or ever face that reality again. So what would happen? It'd be a completely self-serving advert about how now I realize that we need to do more for our employees. The workers get a small vanity bonus, probably give an immigrant worker with limited English a car, pat themselves on the back. Then 2 weeks later, we've all forgotten about the show and they'll go back to their old ways. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend The Act of Killing. It's a documentary following an elderly man who was once a member of a government-sanctioned anti-communist death squad in Indonesia. Now, the commies are defeated. He's celebrated in his own country. There's a scene where they had him do a mock-up of a torture/execution method he had used. He asked production to hold because he found it traumatic. In a very raw moment, he asked the question, "Is this what my victims were feeling in their last moments?" The producer responds, "No, what your victims were feeling was much worse because you were able to ask us to stop, and they knew there was no escape." You can see in a couple of seconds it changes the guy's whole worldview. I would imagine a billionaire who has been rich for most or all of their adult life equally would have trouble conceiving of the dread of inescapable poverty. Lots of rich people voluntarily go on vacation to third world countries. The catch is, they know they have a way out and an end date. I'd be interested to watch a show where the CEO had to personally be financially responsible for the welfare of 50% of their lowest paid employees for 10 years. and their net growth percentage equaled their bonus every year, with a big bonus if both the company and the employees were profitable at the end. Weird thing is they would be profitable. What I linked is about a millionaire in Orlando. Here is a quick part of it. It is an interesting read, and it would be interesting if others would help scale it up. Orlando, Florida. 2 decades ago, Harris Rosen, who grew up poor on the Lower East Side of Manhattan and became wealthy in the Florida hotel business, decided to shepherd part of his fortune into a troubled community with the melodious-sounding name of Tangelo Park. A quick snack from the city's tourist engine, this neighborhood of small, once charming houses seemed a world away from theme park pleasures as its leaders tried to beat back drugs, crime, and too many shuttered homes. Nearly half its students had dropped out of school. 21 years later, with an infusion of $11 million of Mr. Rosen's money so far, Tangelo Park is a striking success story. Nearly all its seniors graduate from high school, and most go on to college on full scholarships Mr. Rosen has financed. Young children head for kindergarten primed for learning or already reading because of the free daycare centers and a pre-kindergarten program Mr. Rosen provides. Property values have climbed. Houses and lawns, with few exceptions, are welcoming. Crime has plummeted.